Hey everyone, Sacred Saiyan here, welcoming you to the third episode of the series, What If Goku is in My Hero Academia, Season 3. If you end up enjoying this video, then please consider subscribing, and make sure to like the video, and comment down below if you enjoyed. And if you want to support me, then you can become a channel member, there'll be a link to join in the description. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's get into the video. This video begins some time after the last one ended. Goku has been catching some of the villains who escaped, while avoiding Class 1A, who has been trying to find him, and in between stopping villains and avoiding the students of UA, the vestiges of One For All, including Deku, helped Goku to start learning how to use all of their new quirks he gained. Goku didn't need float, since he can already fly, and Goku discovered that the way to control Black Whip was very similar to how he controls the energy in his body, so he was able to learn that very quickly. Not only that, but he also learnt Danger Sense, allowing him to detect nearby danger. And Goku didn't really see a use in learning to use Smoke Screen, but he did train to master Farjin, which with Goku being a prodigy, he was able to do. Goku did also begin training to learn Gear Shift, but he hasn't mastered it yet, so he is advised not to use it, and as he is about to continue his training, he senses an explosion in the city. But what scares him is that he thinks the explosion was near UA. Goku quickly begins doing thousands of squats repeatedly to build up kinetic energy, and he then turns into Super Saiyan, shooting off in the direction of the explosion, and when he arrives, he sees all the buildings around UA destroyed, and Shigaraki is standing outside of the school itself, face to face with Aizawa and Hawks. He both look greatly injured, but Shigaraki hasn't got a scratch on him. Shigaraki turns around and smiles, asking how Goku has been. They didn't get the time to catch up last time. Goku clenches his fist, asking what Shigaraki is doing here. He must have known he'd arrive and stop him. Shigaraki smirks, saying he knew he'd arrive, but he won't be staying for long. Goku with a confused expression, but he then hears an explosion coming from the other side of the city, and Shigaraki says that there's about 100 extreme men Nomu over there, so Goku can stay here and fight, and Shigaraki will certainly entertain that. However, if he does, then he might as well say bye bye to the rest of the city, because they both know there isn't another hero alive who could stop one of the Nomu, let alone 100 of them. Goku can't be in two places at once, he must choose. Goku analyzes the situation, thinking out the different scenarios, and he then appears in his mindscape, asking if Izuku is ready. Deku begins to stretch, as he says yeah, and Goku then returns to the real world, and Goku says Shigaraki is right about one thing. Shigaraki asks what that is, and Goku says that when Shigaraki said he can't be in two places at once, he is right, but he doesn't need to be. Now Shigaraki is the one with a confused expression, as Goku uses his spirit expansion to create a Susanoo-like construct around him, and Goku then puts his hands together and begins to roar. But as he continues to do this, Aizawa, Hawks and Shigaraki are all shocked as they start to hear Deku's voice mixed in with Goku's. Goku tells Shigaraki they can thank All For One for this move, as they then see a duplicate of Goku and his spirit expansion appear, but this isn't where it stops. Goku surmised that since it is an expansion of his spirit, if he has multiple spirits inside of him, perhaps he could expand those as well, and he was right. The clone Goku spirit expansion goes from the shape of Goku to Deku. Goku's clone then allowing Deku to control the spirit expansion, which then forms the shape of Deku's normal sized body. And Goku tells Deku that he has to go stop those Nomu. Deku tells him he's on it, as he then flies away, and Hawks and Aizawa are stunned. They thought Deku was dead. He is dead! Shigaraki scowls, knowing that the vestiges of One For All lived inside of Goku. They never thought he could do something like this, but it doesn't matter. He just has to stall until they arrive. Goku then appears in front of Shigaraki, binding him with his Black Whip as he goes to hit him in the face. But Shigaraki then appears behind Goku, grabbing his neck, and Goku thinks he's dead, but Aizawa was staring at Shigaraki just before he touched Goku, so he nullified his quirk. Shigaraki is annoyed, thinking that Aizawa is lucky they need him alive, but before he can have another thought, Goku spins around, grabbing Shigaraki's arm and slamming him into the ground. Shigaraki coughs up blood, not being able to handle this level of power, and he tries to get up, but Hawks then attacks Shigaraki with a flurry of feathers, making sure he can't get up from the ground. Goku then powers up a Kamehameha, which he's going to hit Shigaraki with at a point blank range, but the light of the Kamehameha momentarily blinds Aizawa, forcing him to blink, which leads to Shigaraki teleporting into the air. Goku cancelling his Kamehameha as he looks up at Shigaraki, and he watches as Shigaraki instantly loses all of his injuries. Goku isn't the only one who learnt from his master. He gained a regeneration quirk in order to use Goku's biological growth method, and he can already feel the surge of power he just gained. On the other side of the city, Spirit Deku arrives and sees the Nomu terrorizing civilians, but you also see some members of Class 1A trying to hold them back, though they are clearly failing. Anomu is then about to slam his fist on Ochako, but then Spirit Deku jumps in the way, stopping the Nomu's fist and punching the Nomu, destroying it entirely. Ochako seeing Deku and calling out his name, but he says he's sorry. There's no time to explain. Ochako then hugs the Spirit Deku, saying there's no need, she's just happy to see him again, even if it's only once, and she then stops hugging him and gives him a thumbs up, telling him that he needs to go be the hero he always promised to be. Deku nodding and flying to help the other members of 1A, and we head back to Shigaraki, who is looking down at Goku, and he would ask Goku what he is waiting for. Goku says they thought this would be useless, but he guesses he has to try this now, so he closes his eyes and then creates a giant gust of purple smoke which engulfs the battlefield. Goku is surprised he was able to do this first try, but it wasn't that complicated. Shigaraki then looks around, wondering what Goku is up to, but he then hears someone shouting, "Power!" as he's then hit across the face by Lemillion, who comes shooting past him, and as Shigaraki tries to grab him on the way down, Lemillion phases through his hand and pulls his face as he falls back into the smoke. Shigaraki then gets aggravated, but is then caught by a tentacle arm, and he then looks up and sees Nejire flying above him, and even though she is powering up a blast of energy to attack Shigaraki, he begins smirking. She finally arrived. Shigaraki is then hit by the blast, taking little damage, but he then realises Aizawa won't be able to look at him through the smoke, so he tries to grab the tentacle in order to decay whoever is holding him. But Goku then appears next to Shigaraki, pulling his hand up with Black Whip to prevent him from doing this. Shigaraki then teleports out of the binds, and appears behind Nejire, gripping the back of her throat, as he tells her that he'll be needing her quirk in order to control the energy of its body, courtesy of Goku's DNA. Shigaraki then steals her quirk, her body beginning to fall to the ground, but while Tamaki clears the smoke and tries to catch her with a tentacle arm, Goku dashes in and catches her before landing on the ground. Goku then shouting for Hawks to come grab her and fly away. At this moment, neither of them should be on the battlefield. Hawks reluctantly agrees, and Goku holds Nejire's hand, saying he is so sorry, as Hawks then grabs onto her and flies away. Goku then calls Shigaraki a monster, as he flies towards Shigaraki, punching him in the gut, but Shigaraki doesn't move and begins laughing, and a purple aura appears behind him. Finally, he can control the immense power within this body. Goku is shocked, and Shigaraki then slams Goku into the ground, and shouts that even with Eraser not allowing him to use her quirk, it was so compatible with Goku's DNA that they became one in the same, and now he is stronger than Goku himself. Tamaki then throws Lemillion at Shigaraki, Lemillion thinking he'll be able to attack Shigaraki in the same way again, but Shigaraki attempts to counter-attack Lemillion, which forces him to phase instead of attacking. Lemillion damns the world. Even though he was able to get his quirk back, since Eri gained better control of her power, he ironically feels even more powerless than before. Goku gets up off the ground, but Shigaraki appears in front of him. Aizawa's eyes quickly darting to Shigaraki to make sure he doesn't lose sight of them, and Shigaraki then punches Goku in the gut, while Goku punches him in the face. Goku says that Shigaraki may be strong, but he will never be stronger than him. He has to be the strongest, so he can fulfill the dream of his friend, who never got the chance to achieve the dream himself. He made a promise to become the #1 hero, and he won't break that promise. Goku and Shigaraki then begin trading blows, the shockwaves forcing Lemillion and Tamaki to get back, and Aizawa is struggling not to blink, so Shigaraki can't heal himself. Goku and Shigaraki seem to be evenly matched, both of them taking a lot of hits, but Goku's skill is superior, so he does have the edge. Goku then looks over Shigaraki's shoulder, seeing Aizawa, and he sees Cell appearing behind him. Goku shouting for Aizawa to watch out, but before Aizawa can react, Cell stabs him with his tail, and steals his quirk before teleporting away. Shigaraki then begins to try and grab onto Goku, but Goku closes his eyes, realising he's been ignoring his danger sense this entire time, so he decides to clear all of his other senses so he can focus on purely that, and he uses it to dodge every single attack. Goku then stacks 100% of One For All on top of Super Saiyan, and now begins attacking back while continuing to dodge. Shigaraki keeps healing after every strike, but he still can't land a strike of his own. Goku's strikes keep getting faster and faster, eventually becoming so fast that he damages Shigaraki faster than he can regenerate, and while he continues to attack with one hand, he begins to power up a one-handed Kamehameha in the other. Goku then brings his hand forward, and fires a one-handed Kamehameha right in Shigaraki's face, but a millisecond before it hits, Shigaraki teleports away, fleeing the scene. Goku reverts to base, breathing heavily. He hasn't had to go all out ever since his battle with All For One. He forgot what it felt like to be truly hurt. Goku then runs over to Aizawa, checking if he is okay, but he says he's fine. Mirio helped him get to safety. Aizawa then asks if Goku will be leaving again, and Goku says he has to. He may have not been the reason they came this time, but he would be next time if he stayed. Aizawa understands, but he leaves Goku with one final message: win. Goku nods, flying off, and arriving to see Deku finish off the final Nomu. Deku's spirit then disappears, becoming Goku's clone once again, which then disappears shortly after. Deku, now back in Goku's mind, says that was very risky. Goku has to split his power in half in order to clone himself like that. How did he know he could still beat Shigaraki, even at only 50%? Goku simply said he didn't know if he could, but he knew he had to. But he still needs to finish him off for good, along with All For One, and he isn't sure if Cell is even affiliated with them, but he needs to be prepared. Goku then sees Ochako helping the final civilians out of the rubble, and Deku says that he could go talk to her, to all of them, but Goku says they both know that isn't an option. He won't let anyone else die because they are close to him. Even Nejire, who was like a mentor to him, had her quirk stolen because they realised if her quirk was similar enough to help teach him, it would be similar enough to help them control his power, which they somehow seem to keep getting a hold of. Goku then flies away before anyone sees him, and lands on top of a rooftop, taking in the air and knowing that he will be ready for his final encounter with the villains. And with that, we're going to end off this part. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, then make sure to subscribe, like and comment to help me in the algorithm. I want to give a huge shout out to the channel members. I appreciate you guys so much for the support, but yeah, other than that, I hope to see you all in the next one. Peace.